Tonight, we revisit one of the most important intelligence operations in modern military history. On May 2nd, 2011, the President of the United States, Barack Obama, addressed the world with a historic announcement. The United States had successfully conducted a covert military operation deep inside Pakistan. The mission killed the world's most wanted terrorist, Osama bin Laden, the founder and leader of the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda, the architect of the attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people on September 11th, 2001. But when the elite commandos left the compound that night, they carried something far more valuable than just confirmation of his death. They carried his secrets. If you're enjoying this deep dive into one of the most important counterterrorism operations in modern history, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. On this channel, we break down real military operations, intelligence missions, and the hidden stories behind global conflicts. And trust me, what was found inside bin Laden's compound is only the beginning. The operation that changed intelligence history. The raid was conducted by the U.S. Navy's most elite Special Operations Unit, SEAL Team 6. The mission, known as Operation Neptune Spear, took place in the Pakistani city of Abbottabad, a quiet military town not far from Pakistan's capital. For years, intelligence analysts suspected that bin Laden was hiding somewhere in Pakistan, but finding him required one of the most sophisticated intelligence operations ever conducted. The breakthrough came through tracking a trusted courier known by the alias Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. When U.S. intelligence followed this courier to a mysterious high-walled compound, analysts noticed something unusual. No internet connection, no phone lines, trash burned instead of collected, residents who never left the property. This extreme operational security raised suspicions. After months of surveillance and analysis, the CIA concluded there was a high probability that bin Laden himself was living inside. The night of the raid. Shortly after midnight on May 2nd, 2011, two stealth-modified helicopters carrying Navy SEALs crossed into Pakistani airspace. Their target, a three-story compound surrounded by 18-foot walls topped with barbed wire. Inside lived the most hunted man on Earth. The operation lasted only 40 minutes. During the assault, bin Laden's courier was killed. Several bodyguards were eliminated. Bin Laden himself was shot and killed. But as the SEALs cleared the compound, they discovered something even more important than the target. They found an unbelievable intelligence treasure trove, the terrorists' digital archive. Inside the compound were 5 computers, over 100 USB drives, DVDs and hard drives, cell phones, handwritten journals. Altogether, the CIA recovered nearly 470,000 digital files. These files would later become one of the largest intelligence collections ever seized from a terrorist leader. Years later, in 2017, the Central Intelligence Agency declassified a large portion of these files. What they revealed shocked even seasoned analysts. They exposed the private thoughts, fears, strategies, and daily life of the world's most notorious terrorist. A terrorist living like a fugitive. Despite coming from one of the wealthiest families in Saudi Arabia, bin Laden lived a surprisingly primitive life in hiding. The compound functioned almost like a self-contained fortress. Residents grew their own vegetables. They raised chickens and cows. Children rarely left the property. Trash was burned to avoid detection. In many ways, life inside resembled a self-imposed prison. Bin Laden knew that the most powerful intelligence agencies on Earth were searching for him. Among them, CIA, Federal Bureau of Investigation, National Security Agency. He avoided technology entirely. No phones, no internet, no electronic communication. Every message had to be carried by trusted couriers. To the strange contents of the hard drives. But when analysts began studying the recovered files, they found something unexpected. Among the propaganda videos and operational documents were also Hollywood movies, Japanese anime, cartoons like Sesame Street, viral internet clips. Even more surprising, investigators discovered large amounts of pornography. Because the compound had no internet connection, analysts believed these files were likely transferred through USB drives brought by couriers. Some experts suggested they may have also been used for steganography, a method of hiding encrypted messages within images or videos. A man obsessed with his image. The files also revealed a side of bin Laden rarely seen by the public. He was deeply concerned with how he appeared on camera. He recorded multiple takes of speeches until they sounded perfect. He dyed his beard to maintain a youthful image. He carefully monitored global media coverage about himself. Analysts even found videos showing him watching television news reports about Al Jazeera, CNN. He studied how journalists described him and how governments reacted to his threats. It revealed something unexpected. Behind the image of a shadowy terrorist leader was someone obsessed with his own legacy. The 9/11 obsession among the files were numerous references to the attacks of September 11th attacks. For bin Laden, 9/11 was not just a victory, it was his defining achievement. But according to his own letters, he believed it was not enough. He wanted something even bigger. Documents revealed that he continued to plan attacks against the United States and its allies, hoping another major strike would force America to withdraw from the Middle East. In reality, the opposite happened. The attacks led to massive military operations including war in Afghanistan, Iraq War. Rather than retreating, the United States increased its presence in the region dramatically. Family life inside the compound. One of the most disturbing revelations from the files was the life of bin Laden's children and grandchildren. Nearly 24 people lived inside the compound. Children played in the courtyard. They watched cartoons. They recited poetry. But at the same time, they were also exposed to violent propaganda and militant ideology. Some videos even showed young boys reciting poems glorifying jihad and warfare. To psychologists studying the material, it appeared that many of these children were being ideologically conditioned from a very young age. The paradox of Osama bin Laden. Perhaps the most unsettling discovery was the contradiction in bin Laden's personality. Those who met him often described him as soft-spoken, polite, humble, deeply religious. Yet this same man orchestrated attacks that killed thousands of innocent people. He was both a family man and a mass murderer. This contradiction continues to puzzle historians and intelligence experts. The end of the world's most wanted man. In his final months, bin Laden grew increasingly paranoid. He feared betrayal. He feared surveillance. He even worried that a tracking device might be hidden inside a dental filling placed by an Iranian dentist. His world was shrinking. His organization was weakening, and the intelligence network searching for him was closing in. When the Navy SEALs finally arrived in Abbottabad, the most hunted man in modern history died not on a battlefield, but inside a bedroom in a suburban compound. Bin Laden's legacy. More than a decade later, the question remains, what is Osama bin Laden's legacy? His ideology inspired terrorist groups across the world. Some analysts argue that organizations like Islamic State were partially influenced by his methods and ideology. Yet at the same time, the overwhelming majority of Muslims around the world rejected his interpretation of Islam. Many scholars argue he distorted religion for political violence. In the end, bin Laden left behind a trail of destruction, wars, terrorism, and countless broken lives. A final reflection. Osama bin Laden changed the course of history, but he did not change it for the better. His life ended quietly inside a compound surrounded by family, far from the battlefields he once glorified. And today, historians believe that, in the long arc of history, he may ultimately become little more than a dark footnote, a man whose violence shook the world, but whose vision ultimately failed. History is filled with men who tried to reshape the world through violence. Few succeeded in changing history the way Osama bin Laden did, but in the end, his legacy is not victory, it's destruction. If you enjoyed this military documentary and want more deep analysis of real operations like the Abbottabad raid, be sure to subscribe, because here we uncover the true stories behind the world's most secret missions.